So I need a volunteer. Would one of you please come up to the front? Thank you, John. So John, I want you to stand right here. Yes, that would be good. Right there. Okay. Now, John, thank you very much. Your name is, yes, Adolf Hitler. Now, he is the worst person in history. Who is the very best person in history? Someone who is so very, very, very good. Who can you think of? Yes. Let's use Mother Teresa as an example. Now, in other countries, in other cultures, you will have another example. But for today, we will use Mother Teresa. Would you please come to the front, Christine? You are Mother Teresa, and I want you to stand right there. And so you see, we have someone who is very, very bad. He is evil. And we have someone who is very, very good. Now, the question is, where do you stand? How good are you? So let me ask Sue. Sue, will you come and put yourself in a place where you would feel comfortable? Ah, right in the middle. Now, this is a common place for most students to stand. Right in the middle. It is a comfortable place. It is a safe place to stand. Not so bad and not so good. But the question is, who do we compare ourselves to? You see, God reveals His truth to us. And He says that all have sinned and fallen short of His, God's glory. Meaning God's moral perfection and beauty. That means that He has sinned and fallen short. You have sinned and fallen short. And so have you, Mother Teresa. You have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. So who do we compare ourselves to? We compare ourselves to God. And you see, it's not Mother Teresa that I should look at. I should look to God. I must compare myself to Him. But what does He look like? We know that Jesus Christ is the exact representation of God. So we must compare ourselves to Jesus Christ. And what we know is that we have all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Thank you very much. This is hard teaching, isn't it? Isn't it hard? Valentina says, this is hard teaching. Human beings don't want to hear this. They're not happy with this teaching because they want this now without help. All of us have sinned and fallen short. Let's look at it. First of all, in God's eyes, we're unclean. We are unclean in God's eyes. It's called the pollution of sin, and we are going to look at 4 consequences beginning with the letter P. The first one is pollution. Jesus teaches us that what comes from our heart is what makes us unclean. He says what comes from your heart makes you unclean. Remember the diseased heart that we all have? We lean in the direction of going against, rebelling against God. Well, out of our heart, comes sin. Personal sin. The things we do that displease and dishonor God. Jesus helps us to understand what some of these sins are. He tells us from out of our hearts come evil thoughts, bad thoughts. From out of our hearts comes theft, taking something that is not yours, being angry, or taking someone's life. Jesus came to tell us that they are equal. To murder is the same as being angry with someone and calling them fool or stupid. Now here is a question for you. Have you ever in your life been so angry that you called someone stupid? In Japanese it's baka. What is it in Korean? Pabo. What is it in Russian? Stupid. Grobe. Globy. Globy. I'm so sorry. And my father's Ukrainian. He speaks Russian. I'm terrible. So sorry. So in every language around the world, we have a word for stupid. Have you ever been so angry that you said or thought stupid to a brother or sister or a neighbor? Have you? Well, Sue, could you help me, please? Sue will come around and she will ask this question and you can say yes or no. If you say yes, then you must take one of these. Thank you, Sue. You can ask each person. I say yes. I say yes. Many times, especially when I'm driving and in a hurry. Baka. Stupid. So, from out of my heart comes this sin. I agree with Jesus. Yes, being angry. And I can... One woman in the class has taken 4 of these. So, this person, she sees her sin. This is a good start. It's a very good start. We are honest with ourselves. We are honest with God. He sees all things. He knows all things. And so we continue around the classroom and everyone will have one of these. Let's continue. Hold on to these. Let's continue. Out of our hearts comes the thoughts about having sex outside of marriage. That's called adultery. Wanting more, which is greed. Right? Yes. Shake your head. Yes, Jesus, you're right. Yes, that's true. I want more, more. That's greed. Out of your heart sometimes comes saying bad things about other people. Called slander. Sometimes you may want to see bad things happen to people. That's malice. Sometimes you lie. In North America, we say there are little white lies, meaning that there are good lies. But that's a lie. All lies are sins. So we have being improper, lewdness, wanting what another person has. That's a sin that comes out of your heart. Envy, sexual immorality, arrogance, thinking that you are better than someone else, and acting in an unwise and silly manner. That's folly. Jesus helps us to understand it. Many of you say, I may do a few of these things or think a few of these things, but not many, and so we wear a mask. We try to hide. We try to hide our hearts and our sin from other people. pollution of sin. And it looks like we should stop for coffee right now. Should we? I think we'll stop right now. We'll come back and look at the other 3 P's. Okay? So enjoy your coffee, and we'll come back to learn more about the power of sin. Now, God is our Father. He decides what the consequences are. All of us have sinned and fallen short of His moral beauty and perfection. And so now we look at the consequences. We're going to study 4 P's. The first P is the pollution of sin. And I explained to you that out of our hearts, as Jesus teaches, comes these things that make us unclean. And you all hold one, don't you? These personal sins. Second P, the power of sin. You see, this heart problem that you have, it has power over you. You want to do what is good, and what is fair, and what is right, and what is just. You want to honor and please God all the time. But this problem of your heart has power over you, and you go your own way, not God's way. Jesus teaches us, and we learn that this seed of selfishness that is in our hearts, this moral disease, this sin nature, it is destructive power. It leads you away from God, and God is life. And it is addictive. What does that mean, addictive? Gives you a strong desire to do or think something over and over again. You see, this moral disease, the sin nature in my heart, has power over me. And I want to do what is right, but I don't do what is right. I lie, and then I lie again, and then I lie again. And you'll see it in the lives of people in the world. They have sexual problems. They look at pornography on the internet, or they look at books, or they look at other women in bad ways. And they know this is wrong in their heart. They know this is wrong. But they can't stop doing it. And it is a path that leads to destruction. You see, their family is hurt. The women are hurt. They are hurt. You see that in the life of a man who drinks, or the life of a man who gambles, or the life of a man who is greedy and hurts other people to take more. We do it once, do it twice, we do it 3 times, and Jesus helps us to understand it has power over us. And in fact, He says to us that everyone who sins is a slave to sin. We are all slaves to sin. That's the second P. It has power over us. The power of sin. That's a consequence. And then we have the partition of sin. Did you know that your sin, if I take your personal sin, that your sin makes a barrier between you and God? Did you know that? Do you think that you can come to God like this? Do you? He is holy. You cannot go to Him like this. And we read that the prophet teaches us that your iniquities, that your sins have separated you from God. Your sins have hidden His face from you so that He cannot hear you. Interesting.